Welcome one and welcome all. We're right here in Ghana. And we are going through one of the best sites you'll ever find in Africa. Men with vision must be protected. He decided to build a wall in the midst of nowhere, celebrating history, collecting the children in the community, teaching them their own history. With each picture is a story that has transformed the continent and the world at large. Ladies and gentlemen, for an exclusive interview, once in a lifetime, with yours truly, Mr.
Jerry Johnson.
Take us through. I'm your servant today.
Okay, I want to start with this. The reason we are doing this is because we realize that once the students in Ghana and all around Africa, I'm sure, get to a certain level, high school, college, they've absorbed so much of the poisons through the colonial education that it's very difficult to retract it. So we decided that we would challenge them at the beginning. So when they're learning one thing, we're learning the other thing.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Did you get that? Start them young.
Start them as babies, and they'll
Apoka
get it. Apoka
Karenyane.
Karenyane. The lovely lady here and my wife are from this region. This is around Bolgatanga in northern Ghana. Let me tell you the significance of Apoka Karenyane. The thing we all know in Africa, where we pound our corn, we pound our cassava. This is the pestle. During slavery times, when they were raiding different villages, they raided her village. She was the woman, Apoka. She took her pestle and she was able to kill the leader of the slave raiding delegation, bring him down and beat him down and finish him.
Apoka Karenyane.
Garvey, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Out of Jamaica, the strongest, longest, widest, 6 million deep organization that the world has ever known, the black world has ever known, Universal Negro Improvement Association. Eve, the mother of humanity. The species that we have today began in Africa, and I say it will end in Africa. 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens started. 70,000 years ago, Africans began to leave Africa to populate the rest of the world.
Things Fall Apart.
Things Fall Apart is a very well-known Igbo man out of Nigeria. Asa Hilliard, psychologist, Egyptologist, historian, a great teacher all around. You may even know Asa Hilliard.
Okay, Asa Hilliard.
So Asa Hilliard, as we know, one of our great teachers, Egyptologist, psychologist, and all around.
Santewa,
we know her for fighting the British in the Santewa Wars, one of the Queen Mother's Ashanti side. Didan Kimati, we know they used to call Mau Mau, which is really the Kikuyu or Kenya Land Freedom Army. What did he do? He fought in the battles
I slept in the Kikuyu in the Masai Hills in Kirinyaga.
You did.
And I heard the Kimati.
Kimati, that's the name.
Nzinga,
Mbande in Angola. This is one of the very first ones fighting for the sovereignty of African people and her people there against the Portuguese, who were some of the earliest ones to come into this system.
Mbande means the root.
Means the root.
Okay. Sergeant
Cornelius Ajete, when the Africans fought to help the World War II veterans, to help in World War II, the veterans were promised benefits. They didn't get them. They marched. They fought. They were shot by the British. It sparked the Accra riots. That's the beginning of the end of the
Maurice Bishop
colonization there. Maurice Bishop in the Caribbean, the great New Jewel movement. They raised literacy. They reduced hunger. They did all of the things, but they were killed, derailed by the American government because they didn't want a black Castro in the Caribbean. The homie, a lot of people have seen the movie of the Amazon warriors, the women who were struggling against the French, along with
Edward Wilmot Biden.
Edward Wilmot Blyden of St. Thomas Virgin Islands, one of the intellectual fathers of Pan-Africanism, going back to
Liberia.
Well, he was in St. Thomas Virgin Islands, made most of his name in Liberia as a scholar, as a politician, a lot. Christianity, Islam, and the Negro race is the seminal work that a lot will know him for.
Oh,
Steve
I've been
Biko.
in South Africa. This is familiar. Steve Biko.
Steve Biko. The children here have never heard of apartheid. We've been doing this for years. One class out of hundreds, you've heard the word apartheid to the children. So we first introduced apartheid to the children through Steve Biko. A lot of people will know him, of course. Black Consciousness Movement, South African Student Organization.
Sonny Ali.
Sonny Ali.
Songhai.
We have Ghana, Mali, Songhai. Songhai being the last and the biggest of the three great West African empires, founded by Sonny Ali.
Another Behanzin.
Hansen, Dahomey, or today we would call it Benin, of course, along with the Amazon or Nomaton, the great sharks they called him, resisting the French.
Here, can I stop a little bit here?
You see how they got the
that
click?
Is actually
They got the click. They got the click.
This is the one the lady who did Nakupenda Malaika Nakupenda.
We have a girl singing that. That's the one the girl was singing.
She's the one who
I
wrote
like
that song,
Oh,
Mary
yeah.
Makeba.
We
She was
have a
married
young-
to Haley Belafonte.
Also, Stokely Carmichael.
Yes, he.
And once you get there, then all Africans stand with one arms in the air. Hey, Africa, is elect. Baba Yeka, Baba That's the song that MK is actually using. Tina song abantu amnyama, we the black people.
MK is using that.
The white people must leave.
MK is using that.
Alone.
MK is using
Yeah.
that.
Let's go to
The great Sheikh Anta Diop of Senegal.
This one.
More
This
than
one I must
anyone.
go closer to him. Anta Diop, one of the fathers of scholarship.
Fathers of scholarship,
In
more than
African-
anyone, demonstrated the black Africanness of ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt,
He
along with
rewrote
many
our
other
history.
things. Pardon me?
He rewrote our history and
He rewrote our
reinstated
history.
us as the founders and builders of the great African theology and
Valley
philosophy,
civilization.
which the white people had hijacked. This one. Anta Diop, Sheikh Anta Diop. Further, we're here. we're-
J.J. Dessalines of Haiti. You know, we had the Haitian Revolution. The number 2 man, Dessalines, took over after Toussaint Louverture was deposed. And we had the good manners to give the name back to the natives of the island. The French called it Saint-Domingue. When the Africans took over, we renamed it Haiti, which was the name that the natives had before the Europeans.
So his name was
came.
Haiti.
So back
His name
here.
was J.J. Dessalines.
Dessalines. Oh, he's from Haiti. Yeah. George
George
Washington.
Washington Carver. Carver was the absolute agricultural genius of the day, of his time in the U.S. U.S. Nyerere, of course, one of our great leaders out of East Africa, trying to unify
Oh Lord.
at least East Africa.
Last year, I was on his grave
Oh, really?
in Butiama
Wow.
in Tanzania to pay homage to him.
Oh, dear.
And it's from that reason actually that I came to pay homage to Kwame Nkrumah.
Oh, well.
He was very key to the liberation of the Southern African king
Yes, he absolutely
monarchs
was.
and royalties and the Republicans. South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia,
Mozambique.
and Mozambique, all of us, we have our liberation from Tanzania. So hands up to our one and only Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere.
That's right.
All right. Are you winning?
Match. Go ahead.
Okay, Ephraim Mamu of Ghana, he fought the cultural onslaught of the British coming into his region of the world. Harriet Tubman of the United States, one of the slave mothers that we had, marooned, who would leave the plantations, pull people away, take them to what they call the Underground Railroad to their freedom. Samora Machel, it's interesting, we just mentioned Nyerere, even Machel's base to fight the Portuguese was coming out of southern Tanzania.
Can I also pause on Zamora Machel?
Yes.
I went to his place of death in South Africa, where the Afrikaners, the CIA, and other interested parties diverted his airplane,
Into
which
the
was
mountains.
coming from Zimbabwe, and they pulled it into South Africa, and they shot it down, and they killed him in a place they call Pumalanga.
No, well, the
Beautiful
story
monuments.
was they ran into the mountain.
No, they're not lying. They're lying. I was there. There's no mountain there.
Okay.
They diverted the radar, brought him into Pumalanga, and shot the airplane down. And they killed him. The remains are still there. When we come to South Africa, I'll take you there.
Wow.
But I have been to his burials, to his place of death.
I hadn't heard this story.
Then the pieces of his death were then picked up and he was buried where he was buried. I was there. I can tell you from first hand.
Wow.
They put all these beautiful long pipes because the place is open and plain.
Yeah.
So in the blowing of the wind, you can hear all these pipes making music. Literally, it's a beautiful,
Man.
many monuments they've built.
I'm
for
glad
it.
you told us
Yeah,
that.
but
That
Julius
I didn't
Nyerere,
know.
yes. This one, no, Samora Machel, yes.
Salute.
There would be no Zimbabwe liberation without Samora Machel.
And
He
Fred-
gave our soldiers refuge from Chimoy to Machipanda to Nyadzonya to Tete to actually do the struggle training in Mozambique, which actually came out to become the liberation of Zimbabwe.
With Free Limo.
Yes, and his wife is the only one in the world history who married two presidents.
Yes.
Julius
South
Samora
Africa,
Machel
Nelson Mandela.
and Nelson Mandela.
Nanny of Jamaica, taken as a slave to Jamaica from Ghana, became so powerful in Jamaica she commanded her own section of the island. The British had to negotiate with her because of the havoc she was wreaking on the island. One of the maroons.
Temper.
You see.
Yes,
Haile
Haile
Selassie,
Selassie.
Ethiopia. We know he had to struggle against Mussolini because the Italians never got over the fact that they
They were beaten.
were beaten. And so now the Rastas know him as Rastafari, which basically Ras is prince, he's Tafari Makonnen. So Haile Selassie, when you get to that level, they give you the Gaia's title, Haile Selassie, which is not the same.
This is actually believed to be the son of Bathsheba through Solomon and
Through
through the
Solomon,
descendants
down
of
that
Menelik.
Yeah.
Those of you who are doing history, who is actually meant to be the grandson of King Solomon and King David. Hence, the throne of Ethiopia claims its history.
Claims
to be
its
coming
lineage.
from the Hebraic roots of the Lion of Judah.
With
So,
Sheba.
because Judah is the son of Jesse, and who becomes the grandfather of David. David who births Solomon. Solomon who births Menelik. Menelik who becomes now the mother of Haile Selassie. Peace be upon Jah!
Rastafari.
Who is this one here now?
Pianki, 25th dynasty, Egypt. I like the children to know that even 25 dynasties into the Egyptian civilization, we still have the black pharaohs running the show. And this is very, very important to get the imagery inside the minds of the children because they have all of the other imagery in Egypt that's always been taught to us. I want you to tell me about Shaka.
The Great Zulu.
How this is the maker of the what we now call the Zulu nation.
The Zulu nation.
There's nothing called Zulu nation. Put it on record. When he came into power, there were all these various small royal houses, the Mtetwas, the Nyamboses, the Ngumalos, the Mtimkulus, the Shezis, and etc. He consolidated all of them and gave them the name the heavens. Zulu. Zulu means heavens. And we come from the heavens. And Shaka becomes the father of now what we call the Zulu nations. He mobilized all of them, conquering the entire south, changed the military strategy from long spears and short shields that they had. He said, no, let the shield be bigger to protect yourself. Spear must be smaller.
short, so you can
Don't
have
throw away your spear. How many spears can you carry? Go closer to the enemy. Mama Ngai. Mama Ngai. So deal with your enemies not from far. Get close to them. Get close to them. And, that was a genius of war. He was a genius of the Zulu.
Fannie Lou Hamer
Yeah.
in the U.S., she is the one who fought for the right to vote for black people. I like the children to know that when I was a child, voting for blacks was not automatic in America.
You were taught about this one.
Yes.
Right, he was,
Took me see if you're the Ewe people coming out of Togo,
Togo,
Benin, He was one of the fathers who brought them into this part of Ghana.
Yeah.
Tugwe means father or king or uncle or a big man. Takitawi, if you're a Ga, which is down where you're staying there inside
Accra.
Is the
And here.
the Ga king.
Coastal.
Well, this is Ga land. See, this
Coastal.
is Changambire land also.
We are standing on God's land. More than menace.
What we do here, Menace, we usually take a young child and stand there. The other children choose one that looks the most like this. They stand there, we take a picture and laugh. Then I explain to them this is the real face. I think in the British Museum somewhere. The first pharaoh of the first dynasty of ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt. It's important because once they identify this face with their classmate, and then we let them know he's the first pharaoh, they can never imagine
We are the civilization ourselves.
That's how we do it.
Apoka
Cabral. Cabral, of course, was collapsed the Portuguese colonial empire out of Guinea-Bissau, writing books, used cultural as the basis for loyalty and warfare. Imhotep, we do the same thing. We get a young child to stand there that they choose. Then we explain to them that in the third dynasty, ancient Egypt, he was the very first multiple genius, the world's first medical doctor.
In Shona, Hotep is translated Utupo, which means totems.
Totems.
Totems. Amen Hotep. I am Utupo. I am wisdom. I'm connected to all of you. So actually we have a great, but on another day.
But they say it says come in peace.
Hotep means, but not in Shona.
But in Shona it's Utupo. Utupo means I'm related to the animals, and the animals have wisdom, and we are connected.
And this one here, the eyes have it. This is Toussaint Louverture, who is the one who kicked Napoleon and his army, the French army, the British army, and even the Spanish army out of Haiti.
Nabewa.
Nagbewa, if you come from the north, he's one of the fathers of the north, whether you're in the Moshi group that's in Burkina Faso today, or the people where my wife comes from.
Fra.
All of them.
The B-side right here. Susaga.
I want to say something about this one here.
Osei Tutu.
Osei Tutu. In South Africa, you have a man called Desmond
Tutu.
Imagine, right in the tip of Africa, in the Gold Coast, you have a Tutu. And in the depth of the south, in the Xhosa land, you have a Tutu, same spelling. And people still tell me that we are a different people, when actually our etymology tells us that maybe the north or the northwest or the north-south, whatever it is, and the south or the southwest. And when I go to Nigeria, coming from the airport, the big stone there, they call the Zuma rock. Big bolded head. If you have drove from aeroplane in Abuja, that rock you are facing when you're getting into Abuja, it's actually called the Zuma rock. What are the odds that in Nigeria you'd have a Zuma rock, and in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal, you'd have a clan called Zuma, same spelling. And for me, this is what we call etymological unity, where we may be different in terms of languages, but our languages and our phonetics still tell us that we have a common ancestry. Sankara.
Sankara, we know Sankara, incorruptible leader in Burkina Faso. We're hoping today that his example is being followed by
Ibrahim.
I was on his monument in Burkina Faso. Yes. Amaneres.
Amanirenas of Kush.
Amanirenas.
Amanirenas of
Kush. And by those who don't know, Kush means black.
Modern day Sudan.
Yeah. Yeah. Kush is black.
So 60 BC, by now the Romans had taken over in Egypt. Unfortunately, they made the mistake to go south to try to conquer Kush. She gave them a thrashing, sent them back into
Woman
Egypt.
queen.
And the
When men fail to stand, women take positions. Menelik.
Menelik II. There we go.
I wish I had put this one and
Next to Haile Selassie.
next to Haile Selassie, and maybe next to Sheba, and maybe we could create a family just for psychological flow,
We can do that.
so that we can actually be able to understand the historical
But he
connection.
made sure what happened with the British, the French, and the rest colonizing all of these places did not happen to him with the Italians. 1896, Wajua. That was the
This one you can come closer to. I know
Hajj
you can
Malik
relate to this one.
Shabazz or Malcolm X.
Hey,
The
Malcolm
children
Little.
come, they see the X, we tell them the story about how we lost our names. We even have a skit that we do where we show how we lost our names. One family comes together, they're sold in all the different places, and they all take different names.
He refused to be called by anything because he says, I don't know who I am. You have taken away my identity.
That's right.
So the X, as in mathematics, when you say Malcolm X, is Malcolm the unknown. Go ahead and do your own research and find out where my history is. He refused to be called a McKnight. He refused to be called a Brown. He refused to be called a Rhodes or anything. He said, I am Malcolm. At least my mother can call me that. But as of my history, it remains in the X section. So, for every young person, solve the X.
Solve for X.
Solve for X.
Solve for X. Now, I want you to say this right for me.
Kachwai. This is the history of the Zulus.
Say it again.
Kachwai.
I always say it wrong.
This man was a genius. The British came, they beat them first time. He agreed that we've been beaten. And he said, no, let's come and let's celebrate that you have beaten me. We just want a good peace and time together. And he called them the Big Crow. And told all these soldiers, before the party began, they went into the kraal where they're going to be meeting. Well protected. You know, the kraal is like where cattle play and then they sleep. And they put their spears into the cow dung. The white people came there, cheers, cheers, celebrating that they had won. Did the Zulu not close the door? Did they not finally butcher them one by one? And he beat them to death and butchered, I can't remember the exact number, but literally the British had to go back to Britain and rethink what to do about KwaZulu-Natal. Now he was a serious strategist, cunning and witty man. It is from him that Zwelithini and the President King, who is sitting now, come from.
Say his name again.
Kachwai.
Wow. So I have to get that. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, the click.
Hey, soldier. Akhenaten.
Akhenaten.
This is Amenhotep IV. They even consider him to be the father of monotheism. Now, that one is a little bit tricky because it's not that we did not have the single that we, I don't like to use the word worship, but we paid our respects to. But this is 18th dynasty, so you can see inside that dynasty all of the makings of all of the so-called Western religions.
To me, he represents when Africa immortalizes itself. Because every time you look at Egyptian history, this is a face that you almost identify with. So I think in terms of art and preservation, I think during his dynasty, he managed to preserve his face. That even now, when you see this,
You know where it comes from.
you can.
Do you teach them the symbolism?
Oh, the snake.
I don't know, although I know it's, they have the
It's a cobra.
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, if you don't know this man, you're in trouble.
Emancipate. Let's all sing. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
Yes. Pan-Africanism.
Sophie for atomic energy.
Cause none of them can stop the time.
How long will they kill
How
us?
long will we
Kill our
sit
prophets.
while we sit down watch and look? Some say it's just a
Parts of it.
Yeah,
We've got to fill the book. Wangari.
Wangari Maathai,
Wangari Maathai.
who even though...
Another Maasai also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Maathai.
Maathai is Maasai.
Yes,
Well, Kenya.
I know she's from Kenya. I didn't know
The Maasai, yes.
So they gave her the Nobel Prize, but that's not why we have her here. Because sometimes people get Nobel Prizes and we don't necessarily elevate them. But she was able to put a strategy together inside of Kenya to use the women's solidarity as a weapon against corruption, weapons against runaway government, and a weapon against white domination in their economy.
On another day will come and we explain that actually the Kenyan liberation was founded by women. It was the struggle for women's sexual rights of circumcision that men refused to bow to British colony. The whole war of the liberation of Kenya was founded on the freedom of African women practicing their sexual right without European interference. But on another day.
Right.
Senke.
Senke or Senke. This one was, they mutinied the slave ship and tried to bring it back to Africa. So when they mutinied, they killed the crew and they tried to steer the ship back to Africa. One of the things that hurts me is when I tell the children here that after they took the ship over, they tried to bring it back to Africa, and sometimes the children ask me why.
No.
You see, this is how you know where we are. But they
Well, they
still
want to
need
go on
know.
with slavery.
Well, you know, maybe you could get a visa out of it. I don't know.
Where's the best?
Amistad. Fred
Fred
Hampton,
Hampton,
chairman.
of the Black Panther Party, Chicago.
Chicago.
You see, the children normally recognize how young he is, 21 years old, and was killed by
I
the
think
FBI.
I need to pay homage here.
Respect.
When he went down, I was coming in. I was born 1969.
1969.
When one seed goes down, another tree comes up.
Right. That's Fred Hampton.
Nah.
That's the year America lies that they went to
Oh
the
yeah, his son is.
We have a problem here with, we lost the,
Eye.
chipped out the eyes, so we had to, but we'll paint that up. This is
Because now he
Mara-Rah.
now he looks like a pirate now.
Yeah, he looks like a pirate, but he was Mara-Rah, the Hereros, the Nama, of course, having to struggle against the Germans.
25,000.
So the Germans committed the first genocide. And so the second genocide that we hear about the Germans committing in Europe was not where they started.
No.
This was the practice run, and the Nama and the Herero.
And when I went
felt the
to
pain
the
and
tribe,
struggled
they would literally
against
kill a
it.
husband and then bring the head to the wife. And then ask the wife to skin and remove the skin. Was they wanted the bone. They wanted just the structure without the meat. So imagine your husband is killed and his head is brought to you, and you must now with a knife scrape off all the flesh on his head, poke out the eyes, remove all the brains, wash the skeleton, and then go and give it to the Germans.
Urugu.
This is
Man unkind.
this is what you are talking about. You're not talking about genocide. Sometimes you just think about chopping and killing.
And killing.
But the trauma,
Savagery. Savagery.
the trauma is way beyond even words that you can explain. Let's move on further. Oliver Tambo. Oh,
Oliver Tambo.
this is closer to me home.
Okay.
This was the president of the ANC in diaspora. He was responsible for negotiating all ANC deals with the international community, mobilized towards apartheid, sanctions for South Africa, and the liberation of South Africa. He is actually the progenitor and the one who got Nelson Mandela to the stage where he is. But behind him, of course, are much more longer stalwarts like Steve Biko, like Langali Balele, and other people that actually have gone Mashango, who actually beheaded and killed behind. But he remained in exile, lived in Britain, and etc. Diplomat of note, who was responsible for negotiating South African liberation
And also
struggle.
got weapons inside.
Yeah, of course. Mkondo sees where Jacob Zuma was now the military leader within the underground to liberate South Africa. Yes.
Agostinho Neto, Angola. You know, he was a doctor, a medical doctor by training. Also a very well-known poet. Looking at the glasses, huh? Also,
Yeah, fashion was a long time ago. Yeah. I know these glasses are hot these days. Yeah.
anyhow, struggling against, of course, the Portuguese. He was the leader of that struggle, their first president after they had won their liberation. So we read about him, we read his works, world-renowned poet.
This is the third Haiti.
Sabbath of
This is the third Haiti I see here.
Haiti gets a lot, huh?
With
Yeah. Do you have
1804.
any Haiti?
I don't have Haiti.
All right. All
We
right.
owe Haiti.
Some of
1804.
these, the Haiti is very important because
Yes.
that's why they're still punished.
Yeah, that's
today.
where they started.
That's right.
They're punished today because they're the only ones that fought and won in that hemisphere. This young girl at 9 years old began to run away from the plantation. They would catch her, they would brutalize her. As soon as she got another chance, she would run again. This went on over and over, year after year. They even forced her to have a child. So the reason I have her here is because I want the young people to know that even at 9, we had people who absolutely refused the dominance of the slave trade.
And their garments are stained with blood. Yeah?
And they are the ones, you know. So I met a young girl at the mall one time. She came to me very excited. She said, "Oh, I came to your wall 3 years ago." I said, "Who do you remember?" She named some people. She said, "But the girl." So I asked her, what did she know about it? She said, ran away. She kept running away. I said, "What did you learn?" You know what that girl said right there in the mall? She said, our people should never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Never.
Wow.
She was 11
Never
years old at the
surrender,
time.
never
She was 8
surrender.
when she came.
Bye,
You see?
Bure.
Barbary is Sierra Leone. That's when they had the hut tax wars. And so what they used to do is tell the Africans, there's a tax on your hut, you need to make some money. But how do you make the money? By digging the mines. So my man said, we're not digging mines for money to pay for taxes on huts that we already own. He went to war with the British.
Felix
That's what-
Mome.
Felix Mume is not so much exactly what he did, but what he represented. Here in Ghana and Africa, when we hear the words Switzerland, Geneva, all of this thing, we think it's next to heaven. He was there negotiating. He was killed with thallium at dinner. And the reason I have him here is so they recognize that they can kill you anywhere.
Especially at dinner.
Especially at dinner.
Sikukulu.
Sakupuni in South Africa. Now, he struggled really against the Boers is where I think he, at least as far as I was reading, is where he had his most successes. But having most successes also moved to struggle against the British.
Sikukulu, right now, his area is one of the strongest and most richest parts of South Africa. They're contributing more than $2 to $3 billion a month towards the
How?
GDP of South Africa through the minerals.
Through the
That are in
minerals.
Sekhukhune.
And are they controlling?
They are not in control of those minerals.
okay.
So the struggle of Sekhukhune still continues. And he resisted.
Say it again so I can say it right.
Sekhukhune.
Sekukuni.
Sekhukhune. It's right in the in the northeast part of South Africa.
I've been close.
Yes,
Nehanda.
Nehanda.
Now we're in your backyard,
No,
so
we're
you
in
have
the
to take
backyard.
this one.
You cannot talk of the Zimbabwe Liberation Movement unless you talk about Nehanda. What Asantewa
Was to Ghana.
was to Ghana. She was. But what gave her an advantage? She was a prophet. She, before even the white people came, told us prophecies. I see ships that are coming. There are people that are coming here who have no knees, who they're putting on trousers, whose ears shine and the sun can show on the other side. They were carrying coins in their things, and the book in their hands. Please don't accept the book. Don't accept the coins. It's money in the Bible. And she warned for almost 20, 30 years ahead of the coming of the white people. And when the white people finally came into the country, she was the leader of the liberation movement herself.
The first Shema
Chimurenga won. She was beheaded, and it is believed that her head was taken into England. It is being kept there still as a trophy. Her body was buried in Zimbabwe together with Kagubi and 18 other African monarchs, who are Britain right now is still holding as captives. Some of them are used in their own shrines for their own ceremonies, in their own amusements and rituals. But she said, even if you kill me and you behead me, but my bones would arise again. And in the spirit of Nehanda, every time you talk about the resurrection of the bones, it means that the struggle goes on. But for me, what's more important, there's no liberation of Zimbabwe without speaking of women power and their involvement. And until women stand where men fail to stand, there's nothing that's coming. And men of our politics right now is full of men. Maybe we need to have more women. Power. And the pains of death can come back to the consciences of business. I thank you.
Martin Luther King. Now, the children will know Martin Luther King, but we have to give them our version of the man who was struggling against capitalism, racism, materialism, and, of course, the wars that were prevalent at the time. So, they all do know is
We have
Martin Luther King.
a government here. We have a government here who can tell us about Martin Luther. Come on.
No.
I can say something.
No. Moving on.
On the list of your issues. Oh, all right. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Hatshepsut.
So let's keep pushing.
No, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
Of ancient Kemet. I just like the young girls who are coming through to also know that there were female pharaohs of Kemet, and it wasn't only a male affair.
This was a woman.
My
We're
time
not
would have
going to
been
be taught patriarchy
Malcolm
by
X.
white people. We as black people have never had a problem with women. Never. Thrones belong to women. And women are actually the ones who have the thrones, because what they carry is one that is coming on the chair. The one that is on the chair is a custody. He is just keeping it for what is below the chair. So the issue of women royalty has never been an issue until theology and religion came in.
Halidarat. Now we're talking 641. The Arabs are now in control of Egypt. That's a cowrie shell. The Arabs are now in control of Egypt. They also made the mistake the Romans made. They went south to conquer Nubia, where the Romans went south to conquer Kush. They ran into Khalidarot and his army. They pushed them back into northern Egypt, forced them into what they call a Bacht. A Bacht is a treaty, and it was 700 years. So you can imagine having the power to enforce a 700-year treaty against the Arabs in those days. Now today, how long could we enforce a treaty?
99 years.
99 years, maybe 99 days.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all times. I like the children to know. That he refused to go into the military. He refused to fight in wars against people.
In my young
who had
days,
nothing
man.
to do.
In my young days, man, I thought I'd be a good boxer. And we used to think about Cassius Clay, yeah?
Yeah, that's his beforehand. Latjor Diop, also out of Senegal, he was struggling against the French again, who were trying to run railroads through his kingdom. Died in battle against the French.
Antonio Maceo.
Cuba. Antonio Maceo, Cuba. You know, the Cubans had to fight the war of liberation and independence against Spain. A lot of people don't know their leading general is an African. Patrice Lumumba. Struggling for the sovereignty then to control his land, control his resources, control the area, the same struggle we're going in through today. Now, I also use this as a chance to tell the children about the 8 to 10 million Africans we lost in the Congo during the rubber extraction period.
Conservatively, 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Some say 20, some say 25.
King Leopold.
They reported. Let's correct the English.
Yeah.
They report. You are looking at look at the time 1925 to 61. There's no way where census was done.
No.
Arms were chopped.
Yes. So we have the pictures of the arms, and so we show them to the children sometimes where we're talking about, look, if your husband went off, he didn't bring him back enough rubber, they take your arm, they take your wife, your child, their arms, and we have the pictures, you've seen them, of them holding the arms. So we want our children to know who it is they're dealing with.
And 25 million, hold on a second. 25 million Africans die in Congo.
Yeah.
It is history. 2 million Jews die in Germany. It's a genocide. Now, think about that. Kwavinyika.
Kwavinyika, Tanzania. This is one struggling against the Germans. A lot of successful fighting there, but one thing I like the children to know is, as you were mentioning before, when the Germans finally caught him, they cut the head off. Same procedure. Took it to Germany, put it in a big box for viewing among the citizens. So the children, when I tell this story, this is after I've already told them about the hands being cut, after I've already told them about Nahanda's head being taken. Now I'm thinking about this head being taken. They're now beginning to ask, who are they dealing with?
Urugu.
You see? Because if you don't put these things in context, they won't understand. It's the business of the head. And one other thing that we don't talk about is, you know, when they cut these hands off back here, in Belgium, you know, you can go online and find where they had the chocolate hands. They cut the hands off and put them under the glass, and you go buy chocolate. Let me have 2 of dark chocolate, small hand, 2 of the light. Yeah.
Cannibalism.
So we talked to
in
one
psychology.
man, and we found out the reason they were doing it. They were doing it to demonstrate that they, even though they were a small country, had this kind of power and dominion over African people.
They even made stamps. Postal stamps.
Oh, with the hands.
Same colonial
With the hands.
genocides that they're doing. Genocides, beheading, and etc. I think I can be given an opportunity
you have to
to
go
explain
here.
Robert Mugabe.
Mugabe, because
Who became
a
one
lot
of
of people, as you know, come here and say, oh my God, you have to take him off.
No.
You know what I mean, because of the BBC Western media. That's what they got.
He was a favorite of the British Empire. He has more than 40 degrees, doctorates, from America to Europe and etc. As long as he played the game of the white people. Toward the sunset of his rulership. When the war veterans got tired of negotiating the white people, who said they were going to pay for land and they refused to pay for it. They said, you and your British government in negotiations, you're going to go to hell. We are taking over the land. And Tony Blair declared, we are no longer paying for the land.
That's right. Willing buyer,
We cannot be
seller.
using our British money to look after the British colonies and the soldiers of the ancient empire of Margaret Thatcher. That's where Mugabe raised his statement, Tony Blair, keep your Britain, I'll keep my Zimbabwe. When he touched land, he became the enemy of the whole world, a tyrant. Why? Because land is a means of production. Mining was affected, banking was affected, insurance was affected, loan was affected, Anglo-American was affected. And when that backbone of colonial management of African resources was tampered with, the very darling who had a castle in Coventry, who was conferred sirs and respected by the Queen and sipped juices with Dukes of Ellington, became a thug and a tyrant. And let every African president learn from the Mugabe model. You are a favorite of the West as long as you don't touch land. And the day South Africa learns that lesson, we'll start talking to you politics.
Elijah Muhammad.
Malcolm X.
People like Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, a lot of them came from the Nation of Islam. But this is the closest thing that we've had to a functioning nation within a nation for black people in America. We really haven't had anything like it. Economically independent, their own media, their own schools, bakeries,
own economies,
banks, all of this.
Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Wells,
B. Wells.
anti-lynching crusader. This is where I let the children see the pictures of.
For students, please Google the word lynching. Don't just listen to English. Lynching or lynching, somewhere there.
Lynching.
It has to do with picking up the alpha male within the African community who showed resistance and power and demonstrate how vicious you could be to destroy their ego, even to kill them, putting them between horses and tear them apart, or cut off their tongues and pour hot tar on them and burn them alight, or hang them and etc. Humiliate them so that anybody else who was weaker than this one would learn how to fall in line.
Women too, who resist.
And their children be fed to the crocodiles. We cannot speak of other details, but what are we embarrassed about? Rape cases, even the word motherfucker. Motherfucker. Literally what it meant that you would find a healthy male and is born from one mother. They blindfold the boy, blindfold the mother, and he's made to impregnate his own mother so that they could produce a hybrid quality of slaves who were healthy. And they called these boys MFs, motherfuckers. Think that is anything called a motherfucker? Motherfucker is your father. John Okello. Sorry for that. You will cut some of these editorials out here. John Okello.
John Okello, Zanzibar. You see, the Omani Arabs were on top of the heads, sitting on the heads of the Africans for generations there in Zanzibar. So they finally, through the Afro-Shiraza party, had a revolt, kicked them off. A very bloody but effective revolt. And sometimes when you want to...
Come closer, let's get dirty together.
And sometimes when you want to win your liberation, it's not an easy or beautiful affair.
Fela Kuti. Teacher, don't teach me nonsense.
Nonsense. Yellow Fever, resistance musician out of Nigeria.
Use your art to resist oppression.
Zumbia, Brazil. The Africans in Brazil would escape from the plantations, move to the mountains, form communities called quilombos. In this case, struggling against the Dutch, struggling against the Portuguese. He led one called Palmares, which lasted over 100 years. Also happened to be in Brazil, Nascimento, who is struggling to keep the African cultural life and information and history alive. There in Brazil, if you've ever been there, you know they try to make it seem as though everyone is the same. And it's...
I've been to his Mussolinian in...
Okay, now when I first put this one up, you see, he was not an ancestor. I didn't even know at the time that he was still alive.
All right, can you please put on record? He put on this one, and it was not yet an ancestor.
The only one.
We already have an exception of the... I also put on a dash.
Precedent.
The guy died, then they get...
But that one I knew better. This one I know better. I went to the internet to find when he was dead, he was dancing. So
he was still alive.
He was dancing.
And you had already put him out.
So we left his placeholder. But just this last year, we lost his plan. Tell us about the...
Semnyoma Robert Mugabe Samora Machel, Kenneth Kaunda, Kamuzu Banda, Nelson Mandela, they are contemporaries.
Yes.
In terms of, even Kwame Nkrumah and Lumumba, they're within the same era. Sam Nujoma was responsible for the Namibia space, so the German issue and the revolution against the Germans in the Namibia space. But he was fighting on two fronts. Ideologically, he had German on their heads, but physically, they South Africa on their heads, with the Afrikaners. So they were fighting laterally, they were fighting horizontally. And up to now, they're still fighting some of the laws that the Germans and South Africans have actually established on the Namibian soil. Where in one country,
even now,
you cannot bring beef across this river to this river. You cannot bring these goods across, because the German had secured Windhoek and below as their productive space. And anything coming from the north was cheaper. And if they allowed those goods to come into Windhoek, they will lose their business. So it's still have what they call the red line now, where no food, no product can actually cross that red line.
it's still there now.
It's there. But I spoke to the government and I did part of their manifesto campaign. You know, that's one of the issues that we raised, that in a country we need to open up businesses. But bearing in mind that some
Can
of
you
the
imagine this many years later?
some of the main established businesses in the Windhoek area are still colonial businesses. So to open up their business to the north means that the mango that you're selling for $1, you'll be able to buy 5 for $1. So the north is the most richest in terms of fertile ground and etc. They actually come from the Zambezi and the Chobe River area, where the Katima Mlilo, which is the border between Zambia, Botswana and etc., which is a fertile ground. And if those products and goods and services are allowed to flood into the lower part, which is Windhoek, surely the lower part will hear, because they put a political boundary to protect that. But we are working on that. We are working on it. Booker T. Washington.
Hey, the great. Now I'll do him. I wouldn't do him. You started out, and I continue.
Okay, a lot of people misunderstand Booker T. Washington. All they think is he was an accommodationist.
Get closer, my elder. Get closer, my elder.
A lot of them think he was an accommodationist, but in reality, Booker T. Washington did a whole lot of things, put a whole lot of money toward movements, toward people, toward a lot of things that people would not know about. He was helping Pan-African students all across the world coming into Tuskegee. He's also an institution builder. If you think about Hampton, he was there. Tuskegee, of course, that he founded. He brought in people like George Washington Carver, made sure they had space to work. There's a book by Dr. Tyreen Wright. It really goes into a lot of detail of a lot of the things Booker T was involved with that he didn't get credit for. We tend to know him only in this ideological battle with
Du Bois.
W.B. Du Bois, but that's not who Booker is. Go ahead.
Okay, so he also was the impetus for Marcus Garvey coming to the United States,
Right.
because when Garvey founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association, he was very much inspired by Booker T's cast your buckets where you are, meaning start where you are, not an integrationist as Du Bois was. The intellectual and ideological antithesis, I would say, where he was much more about nation building, pulling together, institution building, whereas Du Bois was much more an integrationist, where he thought that we should be absorbed into white people's institutions as a model, and the mulattoes, as we were called back then, half caste as he was, white father of the slave master, black mother of the enslaved woman. Du Bois was also sort of that class, but it's a little different because he was raised among white people, always having been free as a melanin deficient upper crust black American at that time, whereas he actually experienced the horror of slavery. He said, no, we will build our own institution, which was Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. We teach technical vocational trade, whereas Du Bois wanted to go into Harvard. And so, unfortunately, when Marcus Garvey finally reached the United States, he learned that Booker T had passed away 3 months prior. And concurrently was the era in the U.S. called the Red Summer, which was not a summer, it was an epoch. Yes, many summers came where the Ku Klux Klan was lynching and pillaging our black communities like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood in Florida, East St. Louis, where I'm from, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wilmington, North Carolina. So, yes, he was a thought leader that the Garveyites still follow today. All right, back to this.
BB King.
And the book was Up from Slavery.
Up from slavery. And that's where he got the quote, "Up, you mighty race. You can accomplish what you will."
Booker T. Washington, when you get educated, don't exclude yourself from the struggles of your people. He was almost an Aristotle. He would have been a snob, and no one would have known or cared about what was at the bottom. But when you reach these levels of education, and you remember the background from where you come from, and for me, when I look at Booker T. Washington, it's where an intellectual, astute mind steps away from the privileges it could have enjoyed and remembers the pain of its people.
Yes.
This, for me, is a challenge for modern academicians, who the more educated they are, the further they move away from us. You even hear them talking, these people don't understand us. And we are those people. We are those people that are now don't understanding them. I mean, a child who grew up eating food at home, when he comes back from university, can no longer sleep on the same bed, can no longer eat the same food that his mother gave him, can no longer drink the same water that he drank as a young boy, because now he's a doctor, he's a master's, he's an educated man. I know a certain family in Zimbabwe where the mother had to go and look for a bed for their own son next door. For hell no. If you're that educated, why not buy your own bed? And bring, but that's for another. You can use art to develop African ideologies.
B.B. King, father of the blues, my daddy's favorite blues man.
Yeah. Walter Rodney.
Walter Rodney, Guyana. How Europe underdeveloped Africa is the work most people know. Brilliant scholar, worked in Guyana, worked in Jamaica, worked in all around Africa. Unfortunately,
I want to say
died of a political.
I want to say something about Rodney.
Political murder.
I want to say something about Rodney. Africans, anyway, are all together with us. Take your time. Don't be caught up in national politics and national heroism, where you think that your only hero is in Zambia, your only hero is in Botswana, your only hero is in Tanzania. When you look at some of these people living as far off as Guyana, living as far off as Cuba, Venezuela, Algeria, the French Fanons, the struggle of the black man, the black person, the black woman is the same around the whole world. It's just how we interpret ourselves dealing with the Muslims, how we interpret ourselves dealing with the Europeans, how we interpret ourselves dealing with the Americans. But at the end of the day, the African is being targeted and is a source of cheap resource, money and labor. My order.
Absolutely.
Queen Amina.
Queen Amina, we're going back almost 500 years now in northern Nigeria. House of Queen Amina, Zaria, Zazu as they called it at the time, commanded a huge territory, which is still bordered by what they call Amina walls. So you can still see the remnants of her huge kingdom even now if you go.
For those of you who are coming from Nigeria, which you call Nigeria, which is Biafra or Odudua, you will do well to go and study the history. Before the British came and called you Nigeria, which means the niggers around the Niger River. Go and study the history of Amina. You may just begin to find the history and the geographical location of the nation of what you call Nigeria today.
Eduardo Manlani in Mozambique. We talked about Frelimo. He was actually the mentor of the one you see back here, Samora Machel. He was in the U.S., PhD, all of that. He could have stayed, but he, of course, came back to help form Frelimo, to help struggle against the Portuguese. Unfortunately, he was also killed with parcel, I believe it was a parcel bomb that exploded after he had opened
1969.
1969.
The Americans claimed they went to the moon, but I was arriving from the moon.
They were not there.
I didn't see them on the way.
Garrett Morgan, I always like for them to know of our inventive side. He invented the traffic signal, he invented the gas mask, invented other things.
If you are talking about a traffic light, here is the man who says green means go, red means stop, amber means wait.
You just mentioned Frantz Fanon out of Mozambique. I'm sorry,
Martinique.
Mozambique. And what you
but
see
lived in
here,
Algeria for quite some time.
oh,
And
yeah,
North
he
Africa.
lived and fought in Algeria. Yeah. He's a psychiatrist by training, died at only 37 years old. The Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mask is some of the books that people know him by. Also discussing the benefits of violence, well-placed violence,
pass.
And the therapeutic.
I'll pass a comment about Frantz Fanon. What makes him such a critical component of Pan-Africanism is because he begins to discuss the psychology, the mental damage.
Yes.
That is not just about me coming to you, stripping off your clothes, and raping your woman in front of you, and then forcing you to sleep with your mother, and etc. But psychologically, by the time you are sitting by yourself, what quality of a human being are you? And when we begin to talk about African Renaissance, liberation, African, liberating themselves, emancipating their minds, you are emancipating yourself from what? And it is this description that this world-class psychologist begins to look at the impact of colonization. And I want to say something on this one. When you see a colonized mind beginning to protect the colonizer that colonized him, and protect the system that has destroyed him, then you must know that the level of mental damage is now deep.
Stockholm
Syndrome. When a man who has raped your daughter and your wife, and I find you at the door holding a panga and a knife to protect anyone who wants to injure him, even leaving your children with the same men, say, may you please look after my children. Now I know that you are no longer a human being. In other words, colonization actually dehumanized us, desensitized us. If there is no justice, there is no mercy.
Stockholm Syndrome. All right.
John Chilembwe, Malawi. He's another one. He's a theologian in the U.S., doing well. But of course, we know what was happening in Malawi with the British at this time. Chilembwe was able to come back. I always say he put the Bible in one pocket and put the gun in the other one and took care of the business.
My kind of man.
He took care of the business. He knew how to take care of it.
When everyone is praying and says, let's close our eyes, like me, you'll have your bullet on the door and waiting for the enemy to come in. And I think many of us as Africans, we are closing both eyes while we are praying.
Guinea, most Ghanaians know him as the one who Kwame Nkrumah came to be his co-president when Nkrumah was deposed. I have him here basically for him never accepting to be a member of the so-called French community. So when they came in, the French were angry because he wouldn't join them with Ivory Coast and all the rest of them. They poured cement down into the sewage.
Same in Mozambique.
Huh?
Same in Mozambique.
They did the same thing. Right.
Portuguese.
And tore down all of the
infrastructure, electric lines, waters and water pumps and everything.
But he said, can go.
This man for me, Tory, represents that for you as a president, you lose nothing. A tall man does not lose his height when he bows to a short man. When you know your insufficiencies, you can always incorporate others that are able to do what you can do and work together with them to build your country. So if you are a president of a country, don't die trying to do what you can do. Look for partnerships. And when Ghana threw away our honorable Kwame Nkrumah, when he was in China, and he heard that a coup d'etat had happened in China, he found his refugee in the land of Guinea.
As co-president.
When he got to Guinea, the president of Guinea was not afraid to appoint another man from another country, another tribe, quote unquote, and say, come and help me with your mental power to drive the stability. And it's amazing that even after the death of these two men, Guinea and Ghana still consider themselves as two separate countries.
Ahmed Césaire, also of Martinique. The Africans who were coming from the French colonial structure, whether they were in the Caribbean, whether they were in Senegal, they started something called I can't believe I can't think of it. They started
the Pan-Africanist, Caribbean, African
literary movement. I don't know why I've said it 1,000 times. Somehow I'm blanking. Negritude. Okay. Negritude. And so you saw him as one of the intellectual giants who were leading Changambire. You know, when those guys were in Paris in those early days, he was really one of their intellectual leaders. But he's also a world-renowned poet and a lot of other things.
Let's not undermine the value of thinking, the value of philosophy. Because any ideology without a philosophical understanding of the nature of the problem, you'll end up in the same problem in which you're running away from. This, for me, represents what our liberation heroes are like, who don't understand the psychology of colonization. And they step into positions of power, and they maintain the same system that has destroyed them.
That's what we're taking.
Samori Toure.
Toure of Guinea, I think easily the most effective fighter against the French through the colonial wars all the way across West Africa. He was also an uncle of some level of Sékou Touré here.
Okay.
And of course, they all were hoping that they could get close enough to Ghana, maybe even to team up with the Ashanti to put together a united front against the colonial.
Could be interesting to notice that the 1830 Tory and the 1922 Tory, that this one could have been a mentor of this one. I learned something right there. Within your family, leave legacies.
And then speaking of Toure, we got in Trinidad, of course, Stokely Carmichael.
Ready for the revolution.
Ready for the revolution. So for us, when he was in the U.S., Howard University, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, he was the voice, the name, the face of Black Power for us when we were young. Now when he came to Africa, settled in Guinea, changed his name to Kwame after Kwame Nkrumah, Touré after Sékou Touré, although if you're in Guinea, you'll see sometimes they have the O, sometimes they don't have the O. So he also was married to Mary Makiba.
These are some of the first diasporans. We are talking now of the coming back of the diaspora here, but we already have as early as the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, Pan-Africanists.
And they also started the All-African People's Revolutionary Guard.
This blank space that is here will
is a candidate.
Okay.
This one, I have one comment for this one here. I don't argue with anybody. I don't talk to nobody.
Right.
I only speak to my equals.
He said,
The rest, I teach.
I teach.
Yes.
As John Henry
Come closer, my elder.
You know,
Tell me about
and not only
John Henry Clark.
And the sister who we've just been dealing with upstairs is
Marimba.
Yes, and she's very close to him. Worked with him. They were both at a Hunter College there in New York City. So unfortunately, I was able to meet Dr. Clark, talk to him a lot of times. Not only was he a historian.
Do we have water
he
here?
Was a.
Does anyone have water?
I have the water.
Not right now.
You mean for? Okay.
We would have done it like this.
Later, after.
Not only is he a
For
historian, Pan-Africanist, both advisors to Brother Malcolm X.
Yes, both of these men.
Between them, I can't tell you how many books they've written and edited, and always available for the people. Always available for the people.
We cannot.
You never had to.
We cannot even separate.
I put them
Clark
together.
And,
I put them together because
Dr. Ben.
we used to call them the dynamic duo.
They are.
Because they were together doing it.
They were.
Long time. Now you're looking for Mandela. I know you've been thinking about it, so I'm going to satisfy you. Here she is.
Monzamo, hey. No.
Mama Winnie, give us a signal. This was the face of the South African liberation. She was in and out of jail a couple of times. It is said that the husband was in jail for 27 years. It's a subject of debate for another day. This woman, she was not a member of ANC. She was ANC. I hope you can get the difference. A member of is a subscriber to. She lived and breathed the liberation struggle of now more than 60 million people. It's a shame to look at the ANC and the South African liberation putting her the back foot. Of course, I still have a question for Nelson Mandela, that he could forgive all the white people for the genocide for more than 100 years, but could not forgive a woman who was left out in the cold 27 years for having an affair in his absence to keep the struggle going. This woman breathed and lived. She never got married. She never enjoyed her children. She never enjoyed her husband. She never enjoyed space. Her house was a meeting ground for ANC. Julius Malema, that you know, is a student of Winnie Mandela. Chris Hani went through the hands of Winnie Mandela. The liberation struggle of South Africa was a stillbirth without Winnie Mandela. If I was powerful, I would call Winnie Mandela the mother of South African liberation. The Afrikaners in the apartheid system feared. She did not call for a strike while sitting in her house drinking coffee. She walked in the battlefronts, holding hands together with the soldiers. And when arrests were done, when tear gases were thrown, she was there together with her people. And in South Africa, they have a proverb, they say, "Watinda bafaz." You touch the women, you touch the stone. She was part of the women burning ID cards in the South African government, refusing these barriers that if you're coming from one area to another area, you cannot work inside. If you want to know the history of South Africa, look carefully between the eyes of this beauty pigeon, and you know that beauty can also go with mental acuteness. Viva Winnie Mandela! Viva Amandla! Way to
Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, another one of our brilliant psychologists who demonstrated and explained to us what white supremacy was really all about.
Can I have?
It made it clear to us that this was not a question.
Right here, right here.
Okay.
Come closer there.
This was not a question of.
Yeah, this is not a question of morals. This is not a question of logic. This is not a question of us making an appeal to these people to do the right thing. This is a question of power and survival. And she made it very clear as a psychiatrist, made it very clear as an activist and a writer. So we have her works and we have her spirit, and long live the spirit of.
And she, if I may, she coined the principle of genetic annihilation, the motivation for the white supremacist campaign of genetically recessive people, that it's made from a space of genetic survival against a dominant melanated counterpart. So
can I have all the ladies take away your phones, ladies? I can just leave one.
okay.